Radio. It's Tuesday evening and it's 6 p.m. UK time. This is the Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. I'm Saad in southeast London, where it is quite bright and sunny, but windy, quite windy. Storm Kathleen has been giving us a hard time. And with me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and how is the weather where you are?
A bit cloudy, bright, bit of showers. One is okay.
Good. Yes, showers here too. Yes, thank you for reminding me that. Dear listeners, as I said, this is a spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Uprushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is, do I really have a choice in life? A free choice. Do I really have a free choice in life? And if you have any questions or comments, you can join us by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And one other way you could normally contact us is the Blessed Chat box. Unfortunately, it's not available this evening. So just contact us on our mobile number, please. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail. Before I do that, I want to let our Muslim brothers and sisters know that, well, they will know it already, that it is Eid ul-Fitr tomorrow or the day after, it depends where you are. So I want to wish them Eid Mubarak. That's the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. So I wish you all Eid Mubarak for Eid ul-Fitr. Now I would like to read about what is the Grail message. The Grail message in the light of truth by Uprushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Uprushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for our discussion tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? Do I really have a free choice in life? You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Now, Gregory, you know I like to look up the meaning of the words in the topic. So again, to repeat, the topic tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? So the first key word for me there was free. So let's see what the dictionary says there. The first meaning they give is able to act or be done as one wishes, not under the control of another. What do you say for that definition there, Gregory?
Well, such again describes what you yourself refer to as free. It is helpful.
Okay. So it seems there should be more to say. I think I will not ask just now. I will read the second one and then say if you want to add something there. So the second meaning given there about the meaning of the word free, that's not or no longer confined or imprisoned. And they give an example, the researchers set the birds free. So Gregory, anything to say on that one?
There is that word confinement which one should take note of.
Okay.
As with everything, there must be a context. It is this context which many do not consider, and therein lies the problem.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Gregory. So there's a context that needs to be considered, you say. So let me see. Let's again wait, Gregory, before we go into what is this context. Let's look at the next word, choice. So the meaning of the word choice in the dictionary, it says an act of choosing between two or more possibilities. Is that a good definition there, Gregory?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's good. And one last word that is from the topic title, life. Again, in the dictionary, the meaning. It's given two meanings there in the dictionary. The first one, the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change, preceding death. So, what do you say about this definition of life?
It's very partial. It's unable to it is very challenging to define what life is, but it's much more than what has been just read out.
Okay, and I will. There's a second meaning given as well, uh, which is the existence of an individual human being or animal. So, would you like to say something on that?
Not really, because one has to consider the whole phrase rather than these parts. So not really.
Right. So, no, thank you for that, Gregory. I will now repeat the topic for tonight, and we'll go through it as a whole, just to look at it properly. Do I really have a free choice in life? And of course, this I, we're referring to the human being, um, and in general, rather than just one individual, as human beings, as a race or people. We all have. Do we have a free choice uh, in life? So this is the question we're asking. Now, Gregory, you mentioned earlier on that there has to be a context in which we have to consider these things. So I thought the context was life, but maybe you have a better answer for that meaning. What is the context where you're talking about here, where I say, the subject about, do I or we really have a choice, a free choice in life? So what is the context?
Since the basis there is life, the context which one is referring to will be the framework that makes life or living possible. It is that framework that one needs to refer to. That's the context. Does one have a free choice within this context?
Okay. So just to be clear, the context is, does one have a free choice in life? And maybe you've said it, but I might have missed that. Is it? Please just repeat it if I missed something here. So as I said, I understood it to be life is the context, but you were saying there's not. Is there something else? Sorry, I missed something, I think.
One was stressing the framework
Right.
of life. Which framework of life or the framework of living do we have free choice?
Okay, now I got you. So which framework of life do we have a free choice in? So, well, I'm thinking when I say life, I'm thinking about existence as a human being. So,
again,
yeah,
you said existence.
Yes.
Fair enough. But existence is not considered just like that. There must be, again, a framework. There must be a context. There must be a container. There must be in existence, there must be a time. So we cannot say that you, speaking now, exist in India, but you exist on Earth. We cannot say you exist in the moon or in the sun. So when that word exists is considered, there must be a container, a place and time in which that existence is considered. Else, there will be no boundary. So there must be boundaries. These are the frameworks one is referring to.
Right. So to make, let's say, more specific conceptions and understanding, or to do something to look at, I would say it's our existence on Earth, although it could be outside of the Earth as well. But for just now, for the moment, we would consider our existence on Earth. And so, do we have a free choice of in our life on Earth? Now, Gregory, let's look at some other question to look at the scenario, just to get this clarity. Okay, so let's because people ask this question, so I want to use one of those type of questions, and to examine it, and then we can consider other scenarios as well. So let me ask this one: do we have a choice when we are born to our parents, Gregory? Is it because it's so what I'm trying to say is our parents bring us into this world. So did we choose to come to this Earth, let me say like that, or to be born on Earth, let me say that in a better way, or is it our parents brought us here? So did we have a choice in that? Because it looks like they brought us. We didn't have any choice.
Again, these are assumptions, because the question is, do I have a choice? In that case, was I existing before I was born? If indeed I existed, where did I exist? If indeed I did not exist, then I cannot be questioning a scenario where I was not in. Now I have found myself on Earth. Why is one considering this perspective? Because it's all a matter of responsibilities. For where there is no free choice, then that word responsibility becomes meaningless. Therefore, when you look back and consider before you were born, then we must be asking, did I exist then? So these are the framework in the language which we use. Did I have a free choice within the container of life? So what one is referring to is that you really cannot ask that question when you yourself consider that you were not born. You did not, in quotes, in your own belief, you did not, in quote, exist. Now you have come into existence here on earth, and you're throwing the questions back before you came into existence. So that becomes a form of contradiction to say, did I have a free choice? If, however, you agree that you existed before, then on what framework? Is on that one can now examine whether one had a free choice or not.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for that answer. It seems the more we ask a question, the more questions appear rather than answers. So it looks nothing wrong with that. Just it means you to think more deeply about the question. And so, in fact, when I was doing my research on this topic, I kept finding people are racking their brains, scientists, philosophers, to work out the meaning. Do I have free will, or do we have free will or not? And they seem to be, let's say, stuck. Very hard to give an answer. They think, oh, well, maybe if, um, how, just like you say, how was I born, or how did I come to be born? They're looking at how did the cosmos, maybe the cosmos kid did come first before human being, and they're saying, well, is it the cosmos determining what decisions I'm making as well? So it's like a almost impossible question to answer. But I do see the point that we do need to look at these things very logically and clearly. When we ask questions, oh, did I choose to be born on this earth? Does that mean that means I existed before before my parents were here? So it's like a question here, a big question here. And I'm trying to think where we go next in this matter. Because I could ask many more questions about choice. So I think we should just not go too far. Let's try to work out where are we existing and what we are talking about. So, if we are, how did we come to this earth? So, Gregory, let's look at that. Let's say we are born on this earth, but did we exist before we were born on this earth? We hear about life after death, but not really anything life before death. So, is there such a thing?
Well, that's a very good question, in the sense that whatever needs to be discussed, whatever needs to be considered, the considerations must be taken from a perspective of the facts, which perspectives must be universal, not just something which is one-sided. The appearance of us here on earth, that only is true because we have been born. The question is, who are we? Are we of flesh and blood? If it is considered that we are of flesh and blood only, and our living continues until that point of exit in which flesh and blood stops, then there is point of beginning and there's another point of the end. That means we must consider our activities between birth and death. Any other thing are rejected. If we consider that our existence here on earth falls between birth and death, then all our thoughts, which thoughts we are unable to perceive with what nature has granted us, those ones are the only ones we might even take into consideration. And therefore, the time or the scenario where we consider whether we have the will to choose free or not must only be taken into account at the time of maturity, not as at the time when we are still children. Because with children, when you're talking about human beings, you're not talking about plants, you're not talking about animals, but you are talking of human beings of flesh and blood. Children, you do not take them into account because they are dependent on what the parents and society has offered them. At the time of maturity, then choices will come into the scenario. When maturity hasn't set in, one cannot talk about, them making choices or making free choices. Why is that so? Because responsibility only comes in when free choices, free choices on the possibilities which abound. And it's only when one chooses one of the possibilities that one is now held responsible. The society, in most places, there are jails, there are many things, there are courts. Why would we have structures, courts and jails and all that, when we know we are not subject to free will or free choices? We can say it's not my fault. But the society realizes that some fault must be apportioned. And as long as some fault or some praise must be apportioned to the individual, then the individual
You're
must
listening
have
to Bless,
acted
Bless, Bless. And this is George. Look, say, keep it
free
locked, keep it locked.
of choice to select the possibilities that are present at a particular time. Therefore, one can already see this very clearly. That means between the time of maturity and the time of death. That is on one hand. However, one must ask, we all know that we have skills. And some of these skills, like in the case of music, were not just cultivated just like that. Within a very short while, maybe. Therefore, the question will be, where did those skills come from? Will those skills have come from parents, which parents don't show any sign of having, through inheritance, to have passed those skills to the child? In that scenario, you will find that there are some innate skills which must have had their roots somewhere. That now invalidates that the human being is only of flesh and blood. That there must be some other entity which makes use of flesh and blood. That means that entity must have existed before the body and the blood, or that entity, or that spark must be making use of the body, of flesh and blood as a tool. So one has to carefully weigh these things, follow the logic, and tie up the facts.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this explanation and picture that you're painting for us. It's quite a detailed picture, and we will explore it further in a moment as we go through this topic tonight. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message, by Updrushing. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. And the topic we are discussing tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? Do I really have a free choice in life? You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And unfortunately, Bless Chat is not operating tonight, so you can't contact us on that one. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. You need to type there, go to youtube.com and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is, do I really have free choice in life? And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. So, Gregory, we've established that we do exist before our earth life has begun. But of course, the form, on the earth we have a body, flesh and blood, as you say. However, there's something that inhabits this body, which is the one that's obviously non-physical and non-earthly, that already exists before this earthly birth, and that is the spirit. So that is the one you could say is already alive before the birth on the earth happens. So this is a very key point to understand. So, Gregory, my original question, I was asking, do we choose to be born to our parents in a way? Because do we choose to be born even? Let's put it simple as that. Is there a free choice there to be born on this earth, or is it somehow, I don't know, controlled? I'm not quite sure what to say there, but do we choose to be born on this earth, Gregory?
Again, another very good question. With the admission that there is a spark, which you yourself mentioned as spirit, the question now is that spark able to make decisions? If that spark has the capabilities of making decisions, then it will be that it will make a choice to be born or not to be born. So there are now two choices, or two possibilities: to be born or not to be born. If, however, that personality is then born, then from the two possibilities, it must have contributed to that possibility to be born. Because like one stressed, one has the capabilities to make decisions, to be born or not to be born. So the choices are there. These are the two possibilities. That one is born only, as a matter of fact, provides the root for that probability that the spark, which you yourself has referred to as spirit, decided or acquiesced or gave the full go-ahead to be born. Otherwise, it would have refused to be born, in which case it will not be born.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for again answering this, you could say, common question that people have, and you gave this picture, that we have that choice. So that although people do believe it, we don't have this choice. It's actually our parents chose to make us be born here. But they have forgotten one element, or not say forgotten, they haven't considered a special element involved in this process, that there is a spirit spark that exists. It's not the body that comes, the baby that you see that pops out at birth. That is the being, living person. It's the living being that lives inside that baby. is the real person. So this is what I think people are neglecting to see when they think about this type of questions. Do I have a choice to be born? My parents made me born to be born, they would say, and not really see that, no, it wasn't like that. There's a bigger picture that they're missing out on, which you could say is similar to with the universe. It's such a massive universe called cosmos. People have so many questions about that, and they just scientists are doing the research and let's say making conclusions or coming to their understanding. But do they really have the big picture? Because at the end of the day, they're doing the research. But there's a bigger, as you mentioned before, Gregory, there's always this context. And if you don't know that context, then you're easily going to get diverted or go in a wrong path, you can say. So thank you for this picture. I want to ask, I've got many questions, and I'm going to just try and choose a few from these points. Okay. So Gregory, there's another thing. People are born rich or poor, and or in the middle, you can say. And so when they are born, in whichever situation they're born, then that allows, if they're, let's say, rich, they're coming from a privileged background, then they get the best education, career growth, and so on, and a circle that they were associate with is also, let's say, privileged too. While there's others born, let's say, in a poorer situation, and they're more, let's say, deprived surroundings, and they don't get that opportunity as much as the ones who have that privileged background. So the question arises, well, some people say, is that fair? Because of their birth, they have been born in, let's say, privilege, as I say, and others in deprived circumstances. So again, is this a choice, Gregory, that we choose? Almost, you could say, again, before birth.
The response to questions such as you yourself just asked are such that it needs to be reframed, and reframed in the context of challenges. That you have someone who initially, before birth, haven't made a decision or have two possibilities: not to be born, to experience life in flesh and blood. That is one clear possibility. The second possibility, to be born, to experience life on earth in flesh and blood. Having chosen to be born, to experience life in flesh and blood, then that scenario needs to be traversed, needs to be lived through. The challenges that lies on that path need to be experienced. That means lived through. These challenges, in reciprocity, the spark, the human personality, forces itself to overcome the challenges which now lies in the path. Whether the path is that of lack of material riches or lack of privileges. As long as the personality has chosen that path, in reciprocity, it adjusts itself to be able to overcome these challenges and build upon them. That does not make it less worthy with those who have chosen paths of less rigorous challenges. Many a personality who started as a stammerer may turn out in overcoming their challenges to become an orator. Many a person who, in quotes, was born into poor circumstances because of the lack of material resources may proceed in his or her life determined to overcome the challenges, may become a popular musician or a footballer. Would you then say that this personality who lacked the material resources but now is a popular musician, that person is not worthy of the effort he or she has made, or the other who didn't have much of material things but has forced himself to understand how to just kick the ball, how to organize, and now is a popular footballer earning millions of pounds. Would you now say that person has not overcome challenges? So, each personality, once they have chosen a path, there are challenges on that path, and the personality that needs to experience in reciprocity challenges himself to overcome all the obstacles. Then the personality glows in overcoming the obstacles to get to the peak of the path that he or she has chosen. So the discussion to say privilege or underprivilege, the pity should be on those who consider themselves privileged because they lack the ability to know how to respond to these challenges.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and explanation you've given there. I've got another question along the similar lines. What if, when someone is born disabled, or some sort of disability, let's call it, and is this a choice? I know you said these are challenges in life that we have, but would they choose to be born with the disability and have to overcome this type of disability, or is that let's say, um, some other cause?
In the initial discussion, which one will repeat, the personality, the spirit spark, before an incarnation into a part, there has two possibilities. To be born to take a certain path, or not to be born. Now, the scenario where the personality is born only by inference means it has decided to be born along this particular path. Whether the path leads to disability or not is immaterial. For this ability is also a challenge. For in accordance with the principles, with the laws which guide the decisions, the maturity, the experiencing of the spark, which is referred to as the spirit, there are likely to be returns on decisions it has made in one place or the other. And in order first to redeem itself, it has chosen to take this path, to experience it, to get to know it, and in that way loosen the knots it must have tied in the past. That is based on a free decision, which free decision is not readily available to the human frontal brain, which is able to remember many things, because the human frontal brain, as at that time, was not even built up. The human frontal brain had not been prepared as at the time that pre-decision was made. But it, as a spirit spark, have decided to go along this path. Therefore, whether one calls it disability in blindness or in deafness, doesn't really matter. For there are many who are blind, yet their works speaks splendidly of their innate ability. There are cases of some who cannot hear, yet their works are so different in the arts or in the sciences or even in technology. So these things have to be viewed from a different perspective rather than looking at the externals and basing all of one's investigation on externalities rather than having a holistic picture, which holistic picture refers to the activities of the spirit spark.
Thanks very much again, Gregory, for your answer, and pointing out that we do need to look at the holistic picture rather than the externals, as you say, factors. I've got a slightly different question now. As you already mentioned, when you're a child, you don't carry the responsibility for what you do because the parents are responsible, and society has set it up this way as well. Parents or guardians, let's say, for the child. Now, thinking about the child in their, let's say, journey for their adult career, the parents have a lot of influence, or even, let's say, coerce their children into, not everybody, of course, but let's say in some cases, into a particular path of career, whatever it happens to be. So a child may not be happy with this forced path of career, and but we, as you say, Gregory, they don't have responsibility at that moment, and then they become adult, or you normally start your career as an adult. So I'm wondering, is you could say initially maybe they're influencing, and then maybe in some cases they're enforcing, the parents, that is, or guardians, the path for their child's career, future career, and so against their wishes, the child's wishes. So I'm wondering there, Gregory, is that not against their free choice, the child's free choice, to make a decision what they want to do? So it's like an interference of their free choice. Is this so, or again, is this a challenge?
Are you talking of when the child has matured to a stage where it becomes independent, or where it is still dependent?
That's it's a good question. I was thinking before the independence. I mean, before independent, before the child becomes independent. So it's like they're being directed. Because obviously school, the children go to school where the parents send them, and then they make a choice at some point for the career. So, but maybe the parents are. It's hard for me to. I have to think of the scenario because, for example, let's. Okay, I'm going to pick something, let's say, which is the norm in the, maybe not so much now, but let's say the parents want the child to become a doctor, and they force the child to study those subjects, or encourage, and if the child is not following it, maybe when I say force, really push them, and then the child does follow those, and then he does those subjects and enters to do the medicine, take the degree at university to do medicine, so they can become a doctor. So initially, I want to say that this is from a childhood that this pressure has come. So it's not their wish, as I say, it's what they're being pushed to. So this is what I'm saying, and maybe, Gregory, you're right. When they become older, when they go into this education in medicine, they might say, "Oh no, I want to do it." So, but I'm saying before that. Not quite when they're adult. So the decision's they're being pushed into it. This is what I'm saying. So, is this not an interference? That's what I'm trying to say. In the child's wishes.
There is always interference, not only from parents, but also from siblings, from friends, from the general society as a whole. There is always interference. But within this interference, the individual as a child will have to endure. Why? Because it's under the influence of the parents or the guardians who provide the resources for the maintenance of that individual. And in accordance with the limitations of the guardians or the parents, they only offer that which, according to them, they offer that which they have a faint knowledge. They cannot offer the child that which they themselves lack because they don't know it. Therefore, when they offer the child that which they themselves have thought out, in accordance with their own thinking, they are doing the right thing. Therefore, it is an interference. But that interference is not only from the parents. There are peer pressures from school. There are pressures from society to conform. There are pressures from siblings. These are the scenarios which the individual finds itself. And in the initial stage, is able to absorb all these influences and allow these influences to have an impact on himself, because silently it might be weighing and examining all that it has now encountered. And the individual is only able to respond appropriately when he or she reaches the stage of adulthood, where that which it had experienced prior is now able to articulate very carefully to see if it wishes to proceed along such paths or not. That is where many parents are finding rebellion, because they have put their personal wishes before the gentle urging of the soul of this particular individual. One might say, yes, interference, but here it is stressed, it's not only from the parents, but from almost all the society. And the individual, when it reaches maturity, it has to make decisions. Before it reaches maturity, as such, even the society do not hold it responsible. Why is that so? It's a child. So the society into which the child is in recognizes that the child is not responsible until it reaches maturity. For when it reaches maturity, then that free choice to choose or not to choose is there. To follow a path or not to follow a path is there. If it decides to follow a path, then the responsibility comes in that he or she must account for the choice it has taken. And that is what responsibility is all about. That, however, does not apply to plants. That does not apply to animals, whatever the age. It only applies to human personalities because that is where responsibility is. Responsibility only comes in when there is a free choice amongst the possibilities which has now accrued to the personality. Free choice that has arisen in the path it has chosen to take. Therefore, one must stress that freedom of choice, that freedom to choose or not to choose. Not to choose is also a choice. So one should not just throw everything away and say, oh, I have no freedom of choice. Not having a freedom of choice, that means the personality is also choosing because it needs to make a choice amongst all these possibilities. Not having a freedom of choice is also a possibility. It's being stressed, one must look at the holistic picture. And the other subtle question which must occur to each personality. Why is it that different personalities have different possibilities if they themselves never influence the choice of these possibilities? Why is it that you have, on the one hand, someone feels urge into music, into the arts. Another feels urge into technology or into the sciences. Another into gardening. Another into flowers. These are all urges. Why is it that it is different for each person? If the person himself or herself has not got some innate sensing, so that choice, that free choice on the possibilities that he himself or herself has contributed to is the path that he or she wishes to take.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and picture again. We're going to continue to explore this topic further. I just want to let the listeners know this is Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Obtrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? Do I really have a free choice in life? You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com, that is the next day, and then type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? And of course, you can listen to our previous shows also, the recordings of the previous shows, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1. Now, Gregory, I'm asking questions on different scenarios, and I want to continue with that. Another scenario I'm thinking now, we like using musicians as our example. So many times you see in a particular family, or let's say not many, when I say many times, a few times I should say maybe, that you see musicians being a newborn taking up that same profession as a musician as their parents or even other siblings too. And so somehow it seems the talent is, well, I'm wondering, Gregory, is it inherited or is it the genes? Yeah, inherited from the genes of the parents, you can say, or the generation within to the next generation? Or is this a choice that the spirit spark chose to be born in that musical family? Yes. So how is it, Gregory, when you get many musicians in the same family?
Again, thanks for this question, and you will find that many try to explain these innate talents as being inherited from say, parents or grandparents. Again, when one checks this very carefully, one must try to look at these things from a universal point of view rather than just very narrow point of view. In the case of, sciences on medicine, you may find that parents or grandparents or great-grandparents and all that have nothing to do the way the children have then progressed, either in boxing or in medicine. And at the same time, you will find there are cases where parents or grandparents, there is some form, or the parents might have possessed similar skills. For that which is of spirit, and for that which is not of spirit, in which you have flesh and blood, when inheritance is mentioned, it refers to, or it points to, that which is physical. So there is physical inheritance in the genes. But that which is of spirit, there is no inheritance from the spirit, for these are two different personalities. What may be referred to is more of an attraction of homogeneity. People that have similar urges, which urges are towards music, in all naturalness come together. So that's the perspective from the spirit. But the perspective as seen from the earthly, which is unable to grasp that which is of spirit, it considers it, or it imagines it to be an inheritance. So that which you yourself have referred to is basically an attraction of homogeneity. That attraction could be towards music. That attraction could be a reciprocal activity in which a parent or a brother or a relative or a former acquaintance, that's reciprocal activity which has been triggered long time ago, now brings people together in order to work out that thread which had been tied in the past, in some previous incarnation, maybe in that country or in a different country. So these are the things which many do not see or are unable to perceive using their five senses. And the only way to explain it is that, most likely it's an inheritance. But the key thing here is more of an attraction of homogeneity in which you have the possibility of redemption or of enhancing that which already exists.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this again clarifying how life actually happens in reality, rather than our own sort of narrow-minded way of seeing things. As you mentioned before, externals, looking at externals and not the other side, you could say, the invisible side of activities. Um, and maybe we should try to see why is that we don't know these things. That would be a good question to ask on that. Um, yeah, maybe I will ask Gregory that one now. Gregory, how come we are not aware of these non-external or you know um, uh, how can I put it, activities which form our fate, if I can say that way. Um, how come we don't know these things? So, um, um, especially Gregory said it is our choice. We make decisions, and that is what you could say it results in our path, future path. But somehow we are not aware of these things. What is the reasoning for that?
One just wondered, the awareness you referred to, is it the awareness as a child or as an adult?
Okay, I will say not as a child, but as an adult. Yeah, I'm even reflecting on my own self about this point, because what I've been referring to are scenarios involving children and their parents, and most the impact on how the children are being affected more than the parents. So, but now you're saying, how can if I look at those scenarios, how do the children know beforehand what they're going through? So that's a good question. Okay. So, yeah. But Gregory, even as adults, we don't know. We just make decisions as we grow up as adults. But let's say we are not aware. Okay, so if I chose the one about being disabled, we wouldn't know, even as an adult, why somebody is born as disabled. So I'm wondering about this type of thing. Would we know that, Gregory, beforehand? Or when I say beforehand, I mean when we are on the earth. That's what I mean. Because when we are on the earth, we see it. And we wonder, oh, why is this way? Why is it this way? Why was I born this way?
These are the questions that abound in multiples. As a child, if one considers as a child, many a time as a child, before one gets to adulthood, the first thing the spirit spark wishes to do is to adjust itself to this body of flesh and blood. And that does take some time. So that's the main focus. It's as if it's being protected in making use of this physical body. When it gets to maturity, that becomes different. Even before it comes to maturity, there are the urges. These are fine urges, which urges have an impact on the inner man to make choices. Which choices are of three types. The choices, the three types which I refer to, first, there are the choices which have an impact on one's deeds, which deeds are easily identifiable with the five senses. The other type will be making choices with our thoughts. But our thoughts, we are unable to identify our thoughts with our five senses. We cannot touch our thoughts. We cannot see our thoughts. But we are aware of our thoughts. So that's another type. And then there is the third type, which is that of our intuition. That is the choice which the spirit spark makes, even whilst here on earth. These three different types, they have to harmonize. Many a time, the choices made for the deeds are not in accordance with the choices made in our thoughts. That is very clear. When you want to deceive somebody, you say one thing, but in your thoughts you are thinking of other things. When you want to protect somebody, to make sure no harm comes to that person, you do something just to distract. In your thoughts, you want to distract so that person or thieves will not come and pick out everything in your house. So you could see these are scenarios where the deeds are different from the thoughts. The same thing goes, I mean, in that case where the deeds are different from the thoughts, the other people cannot see your thoughts. Neither can you see your thoughts. Yet the thoughts have an impact on your deeds. All right? Although in different directions. Same with one's intuition. The activities of the spirit, the urging of the spirit, is different from that of one's thoughts, and if they harmonize, then you could see one's thoughts have been faithful to one's spiritual urges. So you have a scenario where the urgings of the spirit, which are spiritual activities, different from that of one's thoughts, which thoughts are tied to the physical body, and these thoughts also different from the deeds. Now, considering the three different areas of weaving, then you ask yourself, how come one does not know of this spiritual urging? Very simply, when one relies too much on the intellectual thoughts, on intellectual deeds, it only means you do not pay attention to these fine urgings, that which you do not use again and again. Very soon, you forget how to use it. Even when that picture occurs to you, because you are not been using the urging of these pictures, because they have been neglected, it then happens that you don't go along in the direction of that urging, because it may be challenging. So that is the plain fact. Only that which the human personality uses again and again, only that becomes strong, whereas that which has been ignored becomes weak.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this answer again. what we are finding here, that we need to look at um, the bigger picture, as I say. You mentioned thoughts, you mentioned intuition, uh, you know, all these, you could say, activities are going on, and if we do not take them into account, then we will not really understand how life works. You know, we might think, oh, life on earth is just being born, educated, getting a career, you know, finding partner, and so on and so on, and then death at the end. But there's more to it, much more to it. Yes, we know about our thoughts and wishes and so on, but there's a bigger picture that we need to be aware of to really understand, the spiritual picture, you can say, rather than the limited earthly, narrow picture. So thank you for this answers, Gregory. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, that's GRAIL, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? Do I really have a free choice in life? If you wish to join in the discussion with any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1, space live stream. That's for the live show, which is on Tuesday evenings, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. You can also listen to the recording of this show on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. That is actually the next day. You need to go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is, do I really have a free choice in life? And you can also listen to our previous shows as well, again on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, I want to look at another angle, another scenario, one angle, I will say, about having this choice, free choice. Gregory, you have already said that it is our choice to be born on this earth or not to be born on this earth. Now, let's say we choose to be born, and then we are born, and so we have a birthday. Now, we are aware, Gregory, there's astrology, and they have a star sign. Everybody has a star sign, uh, you know, by the date when they're born, given through the date of birth. So, which is supposed to have particular, each star sign has, let's say, particular characteristics or about the person. I mean, I know every person, even though they belong to maybe the same star sign, you'll find they have differences in them. However, there's supposed to be some characteristics, let's say, coming through the star sign. So it looks like there's an influence there. Now, Gregory, is this, how can I say, this influence of the stars, does it interfere with our free will? Or how does it work? What's the interaction between star signs and our free will?
The question which each person must ask themselves, what or how are these calculations of this star sign arrived at? So, when one has a good knowledge of how these calculations are done, maybe that knowledge will elucidate many things and then know how one should respond to it. For the choice to accept or not to accept is always there. If one chooses not to accept, that is a free choice. If one chooses to accept, then if we start looking at the different shades of acceptance, how does it impact on the human personalities? Here on earth, very simply, we have, for those who live on earth, they go through the 4 seasons. How do people respond to the 4 seasons? There are those who are exposed to just 2 seasons. How do those people who live in those areas respond to 2 seasons? So, also you have in the so-called star signs, where all sort of calculations are considered. And the question is, how do people respond to all these things? The key lies with the individual, how he or she responds to the calculations which have been found using their own personal free will. There are many who, in considering the calculations, say, oh, things are favorable, and therefore they go to sleep and they don't do anything. There are some who says, oh, these calculations are not favorable, and in that case, they are always on their toes. You will find that is much better than those who are always looking out for the easy way. Therefore, it is the individual, how he or she responds to these challenges that count, not the calculations themselves.
Again, thank you very much, Gregory, for this explanation and picture. We keep, let's say, expanding and deepening our understanding of what you could say how this free will works, or how free our choice works, making decisions. And I mentioned free will, and we will come to that in a minute. I didn't mention it till now, but we will go into that, what exactly this is. Now, Gregory, there is this, cause and effect. You can say, so you make a decision, you can say, or you do an activity, and then there is a result from that. And but this result is like not really in our control. I'm going to give example. Or Jesus used the phrase sowing and reaping. So let's say you plant a seed, and you water it, and the sun is there as well, and you provide maybe fertilizer, and you look after that, and that grows eventually into a harvest. But that's the harvest. You didn't make the plant grow. The plant grew, let's say, grew through nature, and then came the harvest. So you didn't do that. You just planted the seed only, and took care of the plant, you can say. And this is what you did. And then there was a consequence, which is the harvest. And similarly, when we make decisions, there are consequences, or take action, and there are consequences, which again are not directly in our hands, but they come to us. So now I'm wondering, is that what how can say life works there, Gregory? We could say take actions, and the response comes, or reaction comes through, can I say, through nature, or is that how this the consequences come? That because we don't know what when these consequences will hit us. Sometimes they just come.
What is obvious is that there was an initiation of an activity that is undeniable. As to the consequences of that initiation in working out what the consequences will be, it depends on the path which has been triggered, which now will, in its contents, in the nature of the contents of what has been triggered, which is in the attraction of that which is homogeneous with these contents, then there will be an outworking before maturity. The nature of the contents of what has been triggered, that will have to be worked out with the law of creation, in which there will definitely be a reciprocal activity. Also, it has to be worked out with the law of the attraction of homogeneity. If our activity was initiated with different things which are homogeneous to it, then when that has been thrust out, it will attract all those things which are homogeneous to it. When it will come to maturity and fall back to the individual varies. For a very simple reason, the momentum or the purity through which this activity was initiated varies. The environment which the individual is varies. If the individual is in an environment where there is help all over the place, then it is very likely with such thoughts which are pure, of pure nature, to be able to assist others and also assist itself, where the environment is such that it is light and not heavy, then the realization is likely to be quicker as compared to in another environment where such was initiated, but where hatred abounds. And therefore, depending on the purity, it will work out much, much slowly as compared to the other environment where there is a lot of purity and help. So the question is, where was the initial activity initiated? These are the things which the human personality many times cannot yet foresee. Again, you may have that even if these things, the returns are swift, it may be that the person who initiated these activities within a short period of time has also changed his or her behavior, such that when the reciprocal activities which are likely to be beneficial, to be helpful, when these reciprocal activities are supposed to now manifest in such a way that the human personality will realize what has happened, it may be that this particular personality also changes in his or her perceptions, or has changed his or her inner attitude, such that when these reciprocal activities now reach, is unable to recognize them, and he brushes them aside. So all these things have to do with the individual. The firm good volition, the continuity of a firm good volition, not something which is rickety. I do something here and there. So the dynamics of movement in creation varies from person to person, depending on how they stand.
Thanks, Gregory, for this answer. There's one thing sort of puzzling me. Where does the will of God come in? Does not the Almighty rule in everything? Because we've been talking about having free choice, but it seems, and we know there are consequences, but then how does the Almighty, you could say, enforce His will? Because if it's not, then it doesn't seem that He has he has a control or a rule over us, or everything, let's say.
It is the will of the Almighty that granted the human personality the free choice of decision to be or not to be, to decide or not to decide, within the framework of creation. The will of the Almighty manifests as the laws of creation that guide the decisions of men. Whether these decisions of men wishes to be to grow, to mature, and to be of help not only to himself, but also to others, but also for the personality who chooses not to swing harmoniously with this will of the Almighty that supports all that the human personality has chosen, using his or her free will. So, the will of the Almighty does not force the human personality to a specific direction. It is the human personality that chooses the direction it wishes to go. That is his choice. After all, in all our discussions, we are free to choose our words. We have to use words. We have to use the tools which are provided for us. The five senses here on earth. We might as well decide we don't wish to. That is a choice. We have also to use our thoughts. We might as well decide not to. That is also a choice. We also have the freedom of movement of the spirit, which then communicates signals to our thoughts. We might as well choose not to. That is also a freedom of choice. A freedom of choice in one's intuition, a freedom of choice in one's thoughts, a freedom of choice in one's deeds. Therefore, it becomes to be or not to be. That freedom is granted to the individual. How he or she now makes use of that choice is left to the individual.
Thank you very much, Gregory. I'm going to ask one more question, although we'll come towards the end of the show. Gregory, some people are suffering mental illness, or let's say dementia even, and I want to understand, are they able to exercise their free choice, or is something else controlling them?
Before the so-called mental illness, whatever many mean by mental illness, by which they are reflecting on confused thoughts. And therefore, that being the case, they do not have a free choice. Then they are wrong. For that mental illness, so-called, was not there at their birth. Gradually, things have come into being. 4. In the original choice, where the human personality, the human spirit path, chose to follow a path, there is the reciprocal activity in encountering these challenges. If it's along that line, encounters these challenges that must have arisen from the brain or due to blood radiation, the possibility is there to strive to overcome these things. But as with many things, these things are not given the appropriate consideration. And therefore, seen from the outside, it is assumed that the person has no free will or cannot overcome it. Have they tried? That's a different discussion.
Thanks very much, Gregory. As I said, listeners, we've come to the end of the show tonight on the topic of, do I really have a free choice in life? I hope you've enjoyed the discussion with the number of scenarios we looked at and found it enlightening. I would like to end now by reading from the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you're truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Akroshin. Dear listeners, if you wish to get more information on the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a very beautiful week.
Thank you. Thanks, listeners, for joining us. Listeners, I also wish you a beautiful week. Have a beautiful week. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time, with another topic.